This is The Top, where I interview entrepreneurs who are number one or number two in their industry in terms of revenue or customer base. You'll learn how much revenue they're making, what their marketing funnel looks like, and how many customers they have.
I'm now at $20,000 per talk.
5 and 6 million.
He is hell-bent on global domination.
We just broke our 100,000 unit sold mark.
And I'm your host, Nathan Latka.
Okay, Top Tribe, this week's winner of the $100 is Rhett Gillens. He is He's in the restaurant industry, and he feels stuck. He wants to start his own software business. So congratulations, Rhett, for your guys' chance to win $100 every Monday morning. Simply subscribe to the podcast on iTunes now in order to enter, and then text the word Nathan to 33444 to prove that you subscribed.
Nathan Latka here. This is episode 589, and coming up tomorrow morning, you're going to hear from a company that has raised $14 million. They've passed $5 million in revenue, helping usher in the Internet of Things, connecting Keurigs, coffee makers, and other physical objects to the Internet. Particle.io CEO joins me, Zach Sapala. You really don't want to miss this. This is how Russia hacks the U.S., how China hacks the U.S. Will be a very interesting episode. Good morning, folks. Nathan Latka here. Our guest today is Craig McLuckie. He is the founder and CEO of Heptio, a startup focused on making Kubernetes accessible enterprises. Prior to starting Heptio, Craig was a product manager at Google, where he founded the Kubernetes project, launched Google Compute Engine, and created the Cloud Native Computing Foundation that he also chaired. Craig, are you ready to take us to the top?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. Now, everyone listening to that intro is going, what is a Kubernetes? Can you explain that to us?
Absolutely. So Kubernetes is a technology that is used to run applications in a production setting. So this is low-level infrastructure technology that was inspired by the way that the internet giants build and manage their applications. And the idea is to take the collective learning that Google's built over the last decade of building, running, and scaling the applications and bring that to enterprise in a way that's accessible to developers everywhere.
And so tell us, with that context, tell us what your company Heptio does.
Kubernetes is an open source technology that was built by Google over a period of few years in conjunction with a number of other important enterprise software companies like Red Hat, and then in conjunction with a lot of the emerging startups. And now what I've observed is that Kubernetes has been incredibly successful and very widely adopted by enterprises, but there are still some gaps in terms of the overall experience for certain types of developers. And many enterprises want to use Kubernetes in a way that's open and consistent with the open source community. And so Heptio's job is to make Kubernetes more accessible to a broad array of developers by creating great documentation, great training, making it easier to understand, and creating some better high-level concepts for developers who aren't deep systems engineers. And to also introduce the set of enterprise features that are necessary to tie Kubernetes into the existing systems that run modern businesses.
And how do you? What's your guys' model? How do you generate revenue?
Our approach to generating revenue is along three lines. Initially, it's going to be about support. So providing support to enterprises that are using configurations of Kubernetes that we qualify. It will be around training and providing enterprises with training capabilities. And then finally, it will be around a limited amount of professional services and consulting, just helping people understand how to use the technologies. Over time, we will be building out a set of enterprise-grade extensions to the platform that will be licensed product.
And so where are you guys today? Are you pre-revenue today?
Yes, we are pre-product revenue today. We are certainly doing a number of engagements with folks around a support structure and helping them build a business. We've only been around for about 2 months. And so we have a handful of customers, but I would consider us pre-revenue by and large.
And this is like you're doing professional services type of work to fund the growth of the business.
Yes, it's a way for us to connect with customers, to understand where the key gaps are in the ecosystem, and to help them get over the learning curve.
So,
Go ahead.
And I was going to say, so coming up, I want to talk to you and about why you and Joe left Google to kind of do this. That's probably an interesting question a lot of folks are thinking. Before I do that, though, have you guys raised capital or are you bootstrapped?
We've raised $8.5 million.
Okay. And who were some of the backers? I mean, were these Google folks backing you?
No, this was Accel, and our partner there is Ping Li. And, he is someone that we've got to know well and we sort of really respected. And my friend Joe had spent a year as an EIR at Accel before persuading me to make the jump. And we also have a stake from Madrona, who's a good Seattle-based VC. And I've got to know Tim Porter really well and hold him in high regard. So those two companies, provided our Series A capital.
So, Greg, here's the challenge I'm going to try and bridge for my audience over the next kind of 10 minutes on this interview. What you're doing is it's to kind of the average audience that are not in development, they're not going to understand Kubernetes per se, right? So I want to try and bring this down to a level that's like you explaining it to kind of your a 5-year-old child, right? So this you tell me if this is basically accurate, right? Kubernetes was basically, it's an open source system now. Google developed it. It helps developers automate deployment, scaling, and manage certain types of applications, right? So Box, if they have a certain application in their system, they might use Kubernetes to more efficiently scale, deploy, that kind of stuff. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Great.
That is a good sort of way to describe it. Perhaps I can frame it in a way that helps people understand, what our mission is, and I'll try to keep this at a very high level for folks who
for Heptio, right?
Are not extremely technical. Yes, for Heptio. And so, if you think about the way that people have experienced technology, there's been a sort of a series of trends that have provided new capabilities that have helped developers sort of improve their life, get more out of technology. Like one step that happened was the emergence of simple commodity hardware. So prior to that, you'd have to go and buy a mainframe and get a mainframe deployed. And then the client server revolution made new types of compute accessible to a broad array of people. The overall incremental amount of capital expenditure spent to bring computational resources into an environment became relatively low, and that really sort of changed the world, and it sort of slingshotted a new set of companies forwards. What then started happening is the cloud emerged, and what the cloud did is it took it sort of built on this idea of virtualization. So I say cloud and virtualization represents sort of this next genre, or let's just say virtualization represents this next genre, where you're able to take a single piece of physical infrastructure and cut it up into little pieces and give that to developers on demand. So you could buy a big server yourself, you could put it in your data center, wouldn't cost a lot of money. You could create a lot of little virtual machines, and then you could offer those up to your developers. And the time to provision up a new machine went from weeks as you go through the procurement cycle to a couple of days as you'd actually process a ticket and create that machine for them. Mm-hmm. Cloud then happened, and what cloud did is it created a way to provision a machine from an API. So you could actually use a tool to talk to a system that would go ahead and provision you something up on demand, and you wouldn't even have to deal with the sort of capital expenditure or the operations. Someone else would take care of it for you. And that machine would still feel like a physical machine. It would look just like any other computer that you might buy and deploy in your data center. It would just be run by Amazon or Microsoft or Google or someone else. Now, as we look to where we want to go, we want to kind of continue to extend that idea where instead of having to build and manage a machine yourself, we want to present the perfect idea of what a machine should be. So it should be arbitrarily scalable. It should be very flexible. It should be self-healing. When you ask it to run your application, it should just run it for you. It should know when to scale your application. If your application isn't healthy, it should understand that and restart it. And so Kubernetes has really provided the step from having to think about virtual infrastructure to thinking about this logical infrastructure, this perfect idea of what a machine should be. And that's largely how developers at Google and Facebook and other places experience the world. And it's become incredibly popular with the enterprise community as they start to understand how powerful this metaphor could be. So our job at Heptio is to go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were done. Keep going. Your job at Heptio is?
Our job at Heptio is to bring this idea of logical infrastructure to companies everywhere, so that they can actually experience a much better way of getting their code from their developers into a production environment without having to worry about a lot of the mundane and difficult and sometimes fraught tasks of configuring a physical system to actually run that code. But the mission is not just that. It's also to help enterprises organize themselves around the technology, understand how this will impact the team dynamics, how to create better and sort of more efficient operations team, create sort of new forms of specialization that have previously existed only in the sort of internet giants, but are equally applicable to enterprises that are working to run technology themselves.
So, Craig, if we were to say that kind of Kubernetes is kind of this new technological brick, Heptio is basically helping people stack bricks, put them by themselves, make rooms with bricks to build this new kind of machine house. I mean, is that a good analogy?
That's a great analogy. I think that's an excellent way to say it, which is, it's a marvelous tool, and we're going to teach people how to use it to really get more out of technology.
Now, a lot of folks on my show who are maybe, in the marketing and sales technology kind of B2B SaaS space are going to look at this and go, how on earth did these guys raise $8 million or $8.5 million in their pre-revenue? Now, help understand those. Now, I'm going to try and help my audience understand why you guys financially were able to do that, because that gives you the freedom to solve big problems. A lot of this, when I look at it, really has to come from your backgrounds. I mean, you were, basically led this project at Google. Your partner was an EIR at Accel. So this was just two worlds perfectly colliding. In those raising and the capital raising conversations, is that what really enabled you to raise so much? Is just the pedigree in your background?
Yeah, I'd say that it's an intersection of a few things. Joe and I have worked together and built some really great technology in the past. So Kubernetes wasn't our first project. We actually built a product called Google Compute Engine, which is, the sort of cornerstone of Google's sort of emerging and very cool cloud infrastructure. So we'd had a couple of good successes together in the past. But more importantly, I think we had demonstrated very clearly the product market fit, for Kubernetes. We were seeing an incredible grassroots adoption of an open source technology. And we could point to a number of, incredibly underserved communities that were demanding support. So I had certainly spent a lot of time with the community and had been asked by everyone from large banks to large manufacturers to healthcare folks to retailers to pretty much any segment where they really wanted an unfettered, community-friendly version of Kubernetes available for them. And so it was a sort of perfect intersection of incredibly high demand and a good track record that I think led to a great outcome for us.
Can you quantify adoption of Kubernetes? I mean, how many organizations did you have that were actually implementing it, but that made you realize, wow, this is being adopted very quickly?
It's one of these interesting things, and this is one of the key challenges of open source, is that it's difficult to precisely quantify. But I would say anecdotally, at least 2/3 of the Fortune 2000 are using Kubernetes in a material way right now. And most of that has just been grassroots organic adoption of open source technology.
Amazing. Well, Craig, let's wrap up here with the famous 5. Number 1, what is your favorite business book or tech book? Any book you recently have read?
My favorite tech book, I would say, this is actually interesting. It was, I would say, Influence was the one I read most recently, and it was mostly just learning. Just learning how not to get sort of influenced was probably the most useful thing.
You read Influence to learn how to not get influenced. I love that. Number 2, is there a CEO, Craig, that you're following or studying?
At the moment, I would say, I've spent a lot of time, I'd say Andy Grove. I think mostly because he passed away and he was such an influential member of the community that he's someone that I sort of spent some time really observing and thinking about and trying to understand a little bit.
And that's high output management, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Number 3, guys. Yes. Is there a favorite online tool you have that you use, in a business setting?
Yes. I would say Lever is my new favorite friend.
And what does it do?
Obviously, we are hiring sort of aggressively. I think I did personally 20 interviews last week.
Oh, wow.
And I would lose my mind in terms of just managing candidate flow, tracking resumes, figuring out where we are in the offer process. But for, having a really good, software-based recruiting tool. And so, definitely during high growth, sort of early phases, picking tools that simplify your life makes a ton of sense. So huge ROI for us on that.
Right. Lever. Perfect. Number 4, yes or no, are you getting 8 hours of sleep every night, Craig?
No.
And what's your situation? Married, single? Do you have kids?
Married with kids.
Okay. And and then last question here before we wrap up. How old are you today?
43.
And so last question, take us back 23 years. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
I wish my 20-year-old self understood the importance of kindness. That, sort of motivation, drive, ambition, hard work, etc. are important and necessary. But unless you are, constantly focused on positivity and creating a good environment where other people want you to succeed, you're just holding yourself back.
Top Tribe. There you have it from Craig McLuckie. Again, working on building out this infrastructure on top of and around Kubernetes, which he and his partner helped develop at Google previously. They raised $8.5 million. Again, over 2/3 of the Fortune 2000 companies are already using this system. He's focused on helping them do it more efficiently and really growing that ecosystem. Craig, thank you so much for taking us to the top.
Thank you. Really appreciate your time.
If you enjoyed Craig today, go back and listen to Honor yesterday. Honor runs Xero, which has raised $3 million and has passed $50,000 in monthly recurring revenue, helping you get any company data that you want for investing, research, or anything else. Top Tribe, I love giving away free money. I feel like Oprah giving away cars, and I have something special for you today. How many of you have heard our super sharp guests talk about success they've had with Facebook and Google Ads? Well, all of you listening right now, yes, if you're listening, you get $100 in free AdWords. Here's how you get it, okay? Again, thanks for listening. Get the free $100 from Google, right, when you sign up with my website host provider, HostGator. Go sign up now to get your free money. HostGator.com/Nathan. Again, that's HostGator.com/Nathan. Okay, Top Tribe, I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. And don't forget, before you listen to any other episodes, subscribe on iTunes right now for your chance to win $100 every Monday.